Ronald Jones will get a big hole. Jones gets by. Ronald Jones may go all the way. Being chased from behind. Does Jones have enough? Still on his feet. Ronald Jones, 98-yard touchdown.
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers get to bust out the brooms for the first time in a little bit. They complete the sweep, and they conquer the Carolina Panthers 46-23. They move their record to 7-3 on the year. Headed into this game, we said division games are always tough, and it seemed like for the first half of this game, the difference was going to be that early Ronald Jones turnover. But boy, did he redeem himself, and of course, the Buccaneers in white and pewter come out victorious in a very critical division game. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. Happy victory. We're recording on Sunday, so happy Victory Sunday, or Victory Monday if you guys are listening to this when we normally drop it on Monday. But how are you doing, Evan?
Doing pretty good. The game kind of surprised me a little bit with the way it went. I didn't think it was going to be a little bit closer than that, but the Bucs really rallied in the second half. So,
yeah, something woke up right around the third quarter. There were just some really big impact plays. This was a tough game for the first half of it, 17-17 headed into halftime, and there were a lot of things that were influential to how that first half went, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit, but definitely a game that said a lot about the Bucs. This was going to be a telling game one way or the other, and this showed us that they still are the team that I think a lot of us thought they were headed into last week. So definitely some promising signs. But really quickly, before we get into this game preview, I'm not sure what the spread was this week, but it doesn't matter. The Buccaneers absolutely just put points up on the board.
They covered. I think it was I think it was 6.
Yeah, there you go. If you guys want to get in on that action each and every single week, head over to our friends at betonline.ag. From game spreads and totals to team, player, and coaching props, BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any other place online. And of course, they've always got their online casino, which never, ever closes on you. So make sure you head over to betonline.ag today and take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses. BetOnline, your online sportsbook expert, and technically, I think, a sponsor of our first ever King of the Wing competition, which, if you're listening, yours truly came out victorious in a one-night-only winner-take-all battle in the classic Chicken Wing Bowl. I was victorious by a stretch of 3 wings, but, hats off to Evan, I guess, but a lot of that trash talk came back on you pretty quickly this week, didn't it?
Don't worry, I'll be back. Don't get too high up there on that pedestal because I'll knock you down if you get too high. So
well, you got a whole 364 days to prep once again. We'll see how 2021 goes for you, but as of this year, I was victorious, and you know what? I'll hang my hat on it because I feel damn good. Probably going to finish dead last in our fantasy league again, but at least I won the eating contest, I guess. That's what's top Let's get into some of the top stat lines from this game today. So it's really weird because when you put this game together and you look at it top to bottom, you start with the offense. Best offensive game we've seen all season, over 500 total yards, but the red zone offense was atrocious. And it was crazy because, this is a team that I'd say for the first half of the season, they were damn near perfect in first and goal or blank and goal territory, and they just couldn't get the job done today, which, they had quite a few chances to get into the end zone. I think they were in the red zone like 8 or 9 times today, and they weren't able to finish on half of those. So, it put a delay on finishing this game a little bit quicker, but, I'm happy with the offense for sure, right? You have to be.
Yeah, anytime you put put up over 500 yards of offense and over 40 points. And I mean, yeah, really, they should have put up over. I mean, they should have put close to 60 up.
Yeah.
On that team. The goal to go situations were something that they were really good at. Last week was actually, I believe, the first time that they didn't score a touchdown in a goal to go situation, and then they had a bunch of those today, which I think some of it was a little bit of miscommunication, some of it was just some bad luck, but the play calling was a little iffy once they got down there. I thought the entire offense, the offensive staff, who Byron Leftwich calling the plays, the players executing it. I thought the entire offense was really in sync. And, I mean, outside of that early turnover, which, I mean, you can really only pin on one guy pretty much, that's Ronald Jones. I thought, the offense definitely had their best day of the year against the Panthers defense that just was clearly overmatched.
Yeah. And really quickly on the Ronald Jones fumble while you bring it up, if you guys have listened to this show, you know that I am a pretty big fan of Ronald Jones. I do not like when they throw him the football, and you saw exactly why, but we do have to kind of give kudos to the defense there. I mean, I don't know how much more perfect that peanut punch could have been to force that ball out. I think it was Shaq Thompson who punched it out, but just a really good heads-up play from them, and of course resulting in the turnover, which caused the Bucs to go down 7 early on in the game, but we do know how it finished. Let's take a look at some individual stat lines. Tom Brady, TB12, 28 for 39, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns, and of course, no interceptions. Great bounce-back game for TB12 this week.
I mean, we expected it, right? I don't. What is he?
25-1 after 20-plus point blowout losses in his career, I think, after this one.
Yeah, and I think he's thrown like 3 interceptions in those games. Another. I mean, we all knew, right? I didn't think anybody was expecting. There are some people that probably thought that the Panthers might have made this a closer game, but I don't think anybody expected Tom Brady to go out and play bad. That's not him. He doesn't do it. He doesn't have 2 horrendous games in a row. It's not what he's done his whole career. And he was excellent today. His pocket awareness was really good. You want to talk about everybody says his lack of arm strength. He has too much arm strength because
he was overthrowing everybody today.
He overthrew Mike Evans one, he overthrew Gronkowski one, and then had a miscommunication with Antonio Brown on one. But other than that, I mean, third down he was excellent. Like I said, I thought his pocket awareness was really, really good today. He was moving up in the pocket. Carolina was sending. They were either blitzing or they were rushing 3. In the second half, they really didn't rush just 4 a whole lot. They were either really blitzing, coming after him, or rushing 3, and Brady handled it very well, both looks. So great game for him, and hopefully he can just keep this going again. So two big games coming up. They're going to need him to play well. So this is a good bounce back game for him, which I think we all expected anyway. So
absolutely, and that pocket awareness on display. There was one in particular. There were a couple of times today where Brady had to kind of extend his time in the pocket, but one I was impressed by was the left side of the line had kind of collapsed on him. He's moving backwards, and he kind of took a page out of Jameis's book. He hit that foot plant, spun around and out of it. I think he got the pass out. I do not remember if it was complete, to be honest with you, because I was just in awe to see him actually spin out of a tackle. Like, that was incredible to me. But again, just like you said, really important stretch of games coming up, so TB12 with a performance like today is more than encouraging. This next guy, big number 13, 6 receptions on 11 targets, 77 yards, and 1 touchdown. Mike got his touchdown, but it would have been a 100-plus yard day had Brady not overthrown him a little bit in that first half.
To me, this is, if you're just looking at the stats, and we'll get into it, this is how the Bucs offense should look.
Yeah.
I believe Mike Evans had 6 catches, Chris Godwin 6 catches, Antonio Brown 7 catches. That's how the offense should look. I don't think you're going to see many receivers on this team this year with 10-plus catches in a game because there's just so many weapons and Tom Brady spreads the ball out too much. So, Evans probably should have gone over 100 yards, but he had a very good game today, and I thought, they were looking his way a lot. There was a lot of looks his way. So I think the people, the the Evans doesn't get targeted and he's frustrated crowd, they're going to be quiet this week because I think he showed today that it's not the case. So.
Yeah. And like you had said, the big strength of this offense is, obviously the weapons that everybody points at, but when you can evenly distribute the ball, there is plenty of love to go around, and we saw that on display today as the offense was running on full cylinders. Next guy, big 1-4, Chris Godwin, 6 catches for him, 92 yards. Didn't get a touchdown, but it's all right. His longest play of the day was a big 31-yard first down for Tampa Bay. Good game for Chris Godwin. And then to wrap up that receiver trio, Antonio Brown.
Godwin was the receiving leader, correct?
Yes, I believe he was the receiving leader on the team, so good game for him today as well. And then Antonio Brown, Mr. Big Chest himself. Business was booming for the first time in Tampa Bay. 7 receptions, 69 yards. And no, he didn't get a touchdown. It was nice to see him return some punts, by the way. Let me throw that in there. But, I mean, these were just some good effort catches. Like, he... for better or for worse, he wanted those catches, and he was trying to make sure that they happened. He did have the one miscommunication that you talked about, but, a lot of the other catches that he had were just... The one that I think about the most was they were in the red zone, and it was kind of a dump out to the right side. I think they had him run the flat, or he was pretty much running out that way. And it was off the fingertip. He was able to grab it with his hand, pull it in towards his body, secure the catch. It wasn't a first down. I don't even think it got like 3 yards, but it was just, not giving up on the play, and he's proven that he's out there and he's hungry for sure.
I think you're seeing why this dude considered one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. I mean, his talent is natural. The dude hasn't played football in over a year, and he looks good. He looks really good. He made those 2 out routes to basically ice the game pretty much. Down there in the stretch. I thought he played well. And, the miscommunication, it's just, unfortunately, I know people are going to be tired of hearing this excuse, but with a new player, it's going to have to be time. I know that Tom Brady and Antonio Brown played together before, but it was one game, and that was a completely different offense. So, there was a miscommunication last week that led to an interception. This week, it was just an incompletion, but they'll get there. And, I think right now, 7 receptions for 69 yards. If you get that in a week out from Antonio Brown, you're very pleased.
Oh, absolutely. That's more than the role that you brought him in to be, I think, at this point. And then again, as we had brought up, he's back there returning kicks now, which I'm pretty excited to see. He didn't have a whole lot today. He actually did garner
that punter was booming him. So
yeah.
there was no opportunity to really return it. He did draw a penalty, but there was no opportunities to really return it, unfortunately.
That's the first time in a while, I think, that I've actually seen that penalty in particular, the fair catch just getting hit. Like, it was almost like the gunner just didn't even see him. It was kind of funny. But, so yeah, I mean, not a blockbuster day for him returning the football, but it is a welcome sight if we don't see Jadon Mickens in that role next week, which we're not going to spend too much time on, but I did want to get your 2 cents on it. Jadon Mickens, before the game, he didn't play today, and he was a little vocal about it. Do you think he's done, or do you think he's all right?
No, that was just the way I read it was he was put on the COVID list.
Yeah.
And he himself did not test positive for COVID, and he feels 100% fine, and he has to sit because he was in close contact with somebody who tested positive. Probably was likely outside the facility, or else that person would be put on the list as well. So him and Cyril Grayson were put on the list, and I think Mickens was sort of frustrated because he's sitting there 100% healthy, feeling like he can be ready to go and catch a football right now, and instead he can't even travel with the team. So I think it was just some frustration on his part there. I know some people were like, "Oh, is Antonio Brown taking a spot? Is he mad at that?" No, because I don't think the Bucs want Antonio Brown to be their full-time returner. They want him to be, in situations when they need it. That play with the penalty, that's a scary play. If that hits his leg the wrong way, that could be an injury, and they don't want that for that guy. So I think Mickens will be fine as soon as he clears the thing. I think it was just some frustrations that, hey, I feel fine, I'm healthy, but the NFL, the way it is right now, I can't be out there with my guys. That's the way I read it.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you. I think it was just a concern of this guy's, vocally complaining about this. Is it up to the Bucs to really try and tell him to settle down a little bit? I don't know. I don't want to read too much into it, and it's really not worth it because, guys, the Buccaneers are 7-3. They came out victorious. Let's talk about this one last stat line. A guy who caught quite a bit of grief in the opening drive. It's literally the second play from scrimmage. We had a turnover from a Ronald Jones completed pass. Is it a welcome sight? Absolutely not. Is it something we're familiar with at this point? Yes, and we've said it here on the show. Huge fan of Ronald Jones. I think he is, at this rate and the pace that he's going this season, has it been as consistent as you like to see? No, but I mean, it's okay. It happens. Every running back slows down every now and again. But he is in an upper tier of running backs when it comes to running the football. I just cannot stand when they throw him the football. So the early turnover for Rojo puts the Bucs behind, and for a while it was what kept Carolina in this game. And then in the second half... Until the second half, we got a Ron Jones sighting, a game breaker, as I like to call it, the longest run in Buccaneers history. You heard it on the intro of the show, 98 yards to the house. I mean, that's just one of those plays that, exactly what they needed in that moment. Like, it was, a really good play by the Carolina special teams to pin the Bucs inside the 5-yard line, and Ronald Jones had seen enough. He called it. Made the house call and, secured the Bucs a little bit better than they were.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a liability in the passing game. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I've seen running backs that aren't great pass catchers. Doug Martin was not a great pass catcher. Peyton Barber, not a great pass catcher. I don't think I've ever seen a pass catcher where, like, it's like a struggle to catch the ball. And then once he does, he may fumble it. Like, I've never seen anything like it. If the Bucs, like, obviously they could still win the Super Bowl with this guy, right? Like, that's his pass catching ability is not what's hindering them from winning the Super Bowl this year. But I think if they want to get closer to the Super Bowl, they're going to need, whether obviously if they don't win it this year in the offseason, they're going to have to find a running back that can catch the ball consistently. Leonard Fournette dropped a pass today too, whether it's in the draft or free agency or Keyshawn Vaughn. They don't really seem to have much faith in him right now. But, I mean, even like Shady McCoy catches that ball and doesn't fumble it. Like, I don't know why. Like, I know he's not the greatest option. I understand that.
It also seems like Shady hasn't played a snap in like 3 weeks.
It's been a while. So, I mean, maybe he will get some more looks now that, Jones struggled catching the ball and Fournette dropped a pass. So maybe next week you could see Shady get some looks there. But, I mean, he's just such a liability there. And, like I said, they can win a Super Bowl, but I think their chances of winning a Super Bowl would be greatly improved if they had that true pass-catching running back. And I did look up in 2020 free agents. James White is a free agent. Just putting it out there. Tom Brady's one of Tom Brady's favorites from New England. James White, the pass-catching running back, is a free agent. So I'm not reporting anything. I'm just saying maybe if they don't trust Vaughn in that role, let's say they like Vaughn as a runner and want Vaughn and Jones as their two runners, let Fournette walk, let Fournette and Shady go, and then sign James White. I think that would work, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Jones definitely redeemed himself. That was a exciting play, and I'm sorry, but to me, that's more exciting than the kickoff return. Like,
oh man, well,
it is. That play is more exciting than the kickoff return. You can't tell me it's not.
I will meet you in the middle. I think a coast-to-coast run from a running back is definitely a little bit more, if not just as exciting as a kickoff return for a touchdown. But to see big number 27 down there rumbling and bumbling like that really gave you some LeGarrette Blount vibes today. So we have to give some credit where credit is due. Ronald Jones running the football, best performance of his career. 23 carries, 192 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown for 98 yards. Best run of his career.
Shout out to him for not getting chased down by Jeremy Chin.
Yeah.
That was one of Doug Martin's big bugaboos, that like he would break off these long runs and then get chased down. Jones had just enough speed to get past Chin. I wasn't sure I didn't think he was going to. I was like, man, Chin's going to get him.
Started running with his head up.
Yeah, I thought Chin was going to get him at like the 20-yard line. And then when he dove and didn't get him, I was like, all right. So shout out to him for putting on the burners there. And that's the running back that the Bucs drafted.
Yeah.
And they haven't seen it since. Like, they've seen flashes, but that is the running back that they drafted in the second round. If you see more of that, he's going to earn more time.
And that's what we've been waiting on, at least what it feels like for so long, is, we've talked about, oh man, I can't wait for Rojo to really pop that big one. And like you said, we've seen flashes. We've seen him bust out those 25,
that's
30
that's all he did
runs.
at USC. That's all he did at USC. He was just such an explosive option.
Yeah. But really, really good run for Ronald Jones, and of course, really good day for him on the ground. Let's get into a little bit more of this game. Because yes, the Buccaneers did win. We do have some things we need to talk about that aren't going to be comfortable, I guess, but we won. Who the hell cares? At least for right now, but let's talk about it. This first half, it was hard-nosed football, it was back and forth, and it was fun to watch. It really was. It made you anxious, but I think that's what a lot of good football games do. This first half, man, I don't like complaining about the referees a lot, but it seemed like they were definitely influential in the way that first half had gone. Am I right? I mean, the Kevin Minter roughing the passer, a couple of other ones that were called, it really just, and not to say that it was all against Tampa Bay. There were some favorable calls down the stretch, which, is why I kind of referenced the first half exclusively. But yeah, man, they were definitely swinging their way left and right in that first half.
I just don't understand how you can call a roughing the passer when the quarterback lowers his head first.
Right.
Like, I understood that, yes, they made helmet-to-helmet contact, like they did, right? Like, you can clearly see that Minter's helmet hits Bridgewater's helmet, sure. But Bridgewater ducks his head. That should not be a roughing the passer penalty if the guy ducks his head. Like, I'm sorry, that's on the quarterback. That should maybe be a penalty on the quarterback. I mean, that's not fair to the defender. All a quarterback has to do, basically, because the defender's going to come at him the same way.
Yeah.
So if I'm a quarterback, I'm ducking my head every time. Just, hey, hit me in the head, because it's going to be 15 yards and the sack won't count. So that was a bogus call. Even on the DJ Moore catch, that wasn't a catch. I remember I texted you. I was like, I don't think it's a catch, but these refs are kind of suspect, so I didn't know really which way they were going to lean there. But I mean, they were the refs. I think we just got to accept that they're always going to be bad. So whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of a trend at this point, especially the way the NFL is going in 2020. But I do want to bring up a little bit more about this defense while we're talking about it. The offense had a great day. Brady was slinging it. Connections were made. Ronald Jones, best day in his career.
Before we completely move on to the defense, let's give a shout out to Ryan Jensen and AQ Shipley, who we hadn't really talked about that. They did this. They made the switch. Joe Haig was not starting at left guard. Instead, it was Ryan Jensen at left guard. First time he's played guard since his rookie season in 2015, and AQ Shipley went to center, where he played every game for the Cardinals, I believe. Sorry, last year or the year before, he played every game there. So
I think it was 4 years.
Shout out to them. Yeah, so shout out to them, and they were a big reason why they won. I saw a stat before the game. It was like Ali Marpet has allowed 7 total pressures this season. And on Sunday versus New Orleans, Joe Haig allowed 7 pressures.
Oh, man.
So that's how bad Haig was, and you saw it. I mean, you saw a completely different offense out there with a healthy Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown with another week in, and a better offensive line. And now, I mean, they're most likely going to get Marpet back this week. He'll probably clear concussion protocol probably on like Wednesday or Thursday, and he'll be able to get back 100%. But shout out to those two guys, played their butts off. I thought the entire offensive line really played solid. There were a few blitzes that Carolina got home on, but overall I thought they did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, and have to give credit where credit is due. There was a report that came out 2 days ago from the guys over at Bucs Life Media, and it had said that the Bucs were maybe looking at making that switch with AQ Shipley playing center and then Ryan Jensen bumping over to left guard. So I guess shout out to those guys. But we saw that experiment on Sunday against Carolina, and it worked to success. So a really good day for that offensive line. Pretty underrated for them as well. But this defense, I am not super angry at this defense, but there are some things that we do have to talk about. That first half, pressure was extremely scarce. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater started 12 for 12. I think 13 for 13 before he threw his first incompletion, which was on a really good play on third down by Jamel Dean. But I mean, you can't let anybody get that hot of a start, and it seemed like pressure was just really scarce. The first big sack that we saw was that Kevin Minter sack that never really happened technically because of the flag that took it away. So, what did you think of this defensive performance, not only in the first half, but I guess as a whole, and how they kind of brought the nose up at the end?
Yeah, so it's the tale of two halves. Because the first half you were like, man, like this looks like last week already, and I mean they had some pressure early on. It was a little bit better this week than last week, but yeah, it seemed like Carolina was really doing it, put it down the field with ease. I mean, even when the Bucs tied it up at 17, there's 27 seconds left or something. The Bucs allowed that deep ball.
Yeah,
it wasn't caught, but
they were incredibly lax, and I mean they definitely got bailed out there because it very well could have given Carolina enough time to get up, clock it, and get in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean there was a penalty on Mike Edwards anyway for a delay because he laid on top of him for too long. Which, and that internal clock has got to go off in your head of when to get off him because everybody does it. Like you hold him down for a few seconds, you're allowed to do that, but I mean you're rushing 3 in that situation. How do you let that happen? I don't know. But yeah, and then I mean the second half, and it seemed like it was a pretty simple switch, right? Play man, like just play man, tackle, and you're good. Like they had some issues with tackling early on, and then I mean the defense gives up a touchdown when the kickoff return goes to the 5-yard line. Like, come on, like I'm not gonna get overly angry with that. You can't. That's not fair. Because technically, I mean, the defense, they kept it to a 2-score game because they didn't let the Panthers get the 2-point conversion. So, I mean, it was a really good half. It really was. It was they started to bring more pressure. They had obviously the turnover. I hope Teddy Bridgewater's okay.
Yeah.
That's a big concern for me. I know that we're a Bucs podcast, but just want to send out some prayers to him. He wasn't able to return in the game, which I think maybe if it was a closer game, maybe he would have. I don't know. But it didn't look pretty. It was a clean play by Jason Pierre-Paul. It's just one of them things that just kind of sucks. So I hope he's all right. But, yeah, I mean, the defense I thought played well. They played well enough. I think they knew what they needed to do. And Jason Pierre-Paul said that. He said that we knew what we needed to do coming out in the second half, and they did just that. So hopefully next week versus the Rams, they can put that into 60 minutes. The Rams have a much better offense than the Panthers do. So hopefully, they can step up and put that into a full 60 minutes and a full game, because if they don't, they might be in some trouble. But, yeah, I mean, I think you have to be overall pleased with the defensive performance.
Yeah. Now, a couple more things I wanted to talk about before we kind of look ahead to next week. Going back to Brady's day, man, I just wanted to kind of throw this in there. Maybe should have brought it up earlier when we were going over the offense, but Rob Gronkowski today, that one catch where he's breaking off tacklers left and right, and he still had room to rumble and bumble his way into the red zone, that was probably the best Gronk play that I have seen. It's a shame it didn't end up in the end zone, even though he found it a little bit later in the game, but, I mean, dude, Gronk is, he's definitely on a roll right now, and I really liked what we saw out of him this week.
That was the most like Gronk you've seen, pretty much. That looked like 2015, 2014 Gronkowski right there. So that was a throwback. Yeah, so he played well, and he got his touchdown then later on. So I wanted to point something out, because I was thinking about the defense, and I started thinking about the special teams before we move on to anything else. Carolina, why you go for a fake punt in that situation, 4th and 7? Yeah. You're nowhere near your 50-yard line. Like, that is just idiotic to me. And you basically gave the Bucs the game at that point. Like, yeah, the Bucs played very well, but you gave them the game at that point. I mean, come on.
Well, I think at that point in the game, it's a measure of just how desperate they were to really get back into it, because that was a make or break drive for them anyways. So I
think that they were down. I believe that might have been when they were down 9 or so, or maybe might have been 12. I'm not sure. I forget. Down over. I forget if that was after or before the kickoff return. I forget. But I will say credit to Justin Watson, because Justin Watson was credited with a sack. So first career sack of Justin Watson's career.
Really?
And probably the only sack he'll have. Yeah, it was credited as a sack on the punter, because the punter was getting ready to throw it, and then he stepped up in the pocket, and it was behind the line of scrimmage, so it was a sack. Sack for Justin Watson. So
hey, there it is, man. So I wanted to look ahead a little bit before we kind of wrap this thing up. It's funny that we're already wrapping up, but we've said it before, when they play well and they win the way that they do, it's almost like there's less to talk about. But I really feel like we've covered most of our bases in the game today. But looking ahead, what is important for this team to establish before they face the Rams on Monday Night Football next week? Because, the one thing that we've talked about, I think, the most this year is just consistency with this team. Definitely a tale of two halves today was for the defense, like you had said, but it's almost like one week the defense carries this team. The next week the offense keeps us in it. The next week the defense. And I know that we've heard, the offense is still finding chemistry. Sure, great. But on the defense, you kind of expect that consistency to carry over a little bit more. But what I'm trying to ask is, what do you think is the most important thing that needs to be established headed into next week's game?
I think on defense, you got to come up with a good game plan.
Yeah.
If you're talking about just this opponent and not for the rest of the season, the Rams' offense is high powered, and we were talking yesterday. I said, I'm not sure what to think of this Rams game anymore, because I originally had it as a win for the Bucs, and I might be leaning towards a loss, and not because of the way the Bucs are playing, just because I'm surprised at the way the Rams are playing.
Yeah.
The Rams playing better than I thought they were going to, and their offense has looked better than I thought they were going to. So, Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Gerald Everett. I know they have a solid offensive line. It's going to be tricky. I think it is. So I think the game plan on defense has to be a good one. And, on offense, you just got to score a little bit more in the red zone, score touchdowns, get 6 instead of 3. You were keeping them in the game. This game could have been well over in the third quarter even. Didn't even have to take to the fourth quarter for you to really say, oh, it's over. Yeah. It could have been – they could have had 40 points at the end of the third quarter if you convert on most of your red zone. I understand that every time you go in a goal-to-go situation, you're not going to get a touchdown. That's fine. But, there was a lot of opportunities there where you're like, man, I texted you. I was like, they can't keep kicking field goals. Carolina, that's what they do. Carolina stays in the game. That's exactly what Carolina did last week, and they almost came back to beat Kansas City. Kansas City got up a little bit, but Carolina never really let them go too far away from them. And, I don't know. I was trying to think of what really the turning point in this game was, and there was a lot of different things. I'm not sure.
I think it was just a 1-2 punch. We talked about the 98-yard touchdown from Ronald Jones. Very next drive, Jason Pierre-Paul, he hauls in a pick to make up for the drop that he had against New Orleans. But those were
that was the next play.
Yeah, back to back. Literally as back to back as you can get. But I think that's really what sealed the deal right there. That was just huge for momentum for the rest of the game, and it was a perfect situation followed up by yet another perfect situation, and that was the difference, I think, today, and what allowed the Bucs to kind of, run away with that lead.
Yeah, so that was the Ronald Jones. The Ronald Jones 1 play 14 seconds is 98-yard run, and then 1 play 8 seconds interception. Yep, and then the Bucs had a 9-play drive ending in a field goal, but that was when Brady had missed Mike Evans wide open on the first play. And I was like, wow, that would have been nuts. Just touchdown, pick, touchdown. And then he missed Gronkowski deep on the play. But shout out to Cameron Brate, who played well today. We haven't talked about him at all. He scored. He opened up the scoring. Had the 19-yard conversion on 3rd and 19. That really changed things too. So shout out to Cameron Brate, making America great again. And, he really – he played well when they needed to. And like I said, this to me is what the offense should look like.
Yeah.
Gronkowski with a touchdown, Brate with a touchdown, Evans with a couple receptions and a touchdown, Godwin with a few receptions, Antonio Brown with a few receptions. Scotty Miller, he had 1 catch for 6 yards. He's the 4th wide receiver. Like that's what your fourth wide receiver is honestly most likely gonna look like when you have 2 talented tight ends and 3 really good wide receivers.
Yeah.
So that's what the offense should look like, I think, and that's an ideal offense. You're going over 100 yards rushing, and then you're playing near perfect football. Without that turnover in the beginning, I think this thing is well over early, and they can't shoot themselves in the foot against a good team, like the Rams, the Chiefs, those teams. Yeah, though they're gonna have to play clean football. No turnovers in either of those games. If you do, you're setting yourself up for failure. I mean, I know that you got 2 turnovers against the Saints, but you had 3 yourself, and when you got the second turnover, it was already like 28-0 by that point, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, just don't beat yourselves, and they did it early on, and they went down 7-0. You saw it, right?
Yeah.
The game was closer because of it. Beating themselves, the red zone miscues, beating themselves.
That special teams, the huge return that almost, a great effort play from Sean Murphy-Bunting while we mention it, but that huge return, which very well could have, changed the landscape of the game if it was a touchdown.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I know that somebody said that the special teams coordinator, Keith Armstrong, should be fired. I didn't have a problem with the coverage at all. It's just they missed the tackle. They didn't execute. Like we talked about last week, it's a combination of both. The players have to execute, and the coaches have to put in a good game plan. And I thought that the coverage was fine. It's just Pat O'Connor had a wide open shot at him, and he had him, and he just let him go. So that can't happen. Special teams, that the kick coverage has not been great. I know it was really windy, so it was kind of tough to consistently boot it out of the end zone. They even had to have a holder for a few times, but definitely something that's got to improve. These next 2 weeks are big games, and I know that we're supposed to be reviewing this game, but the truth is that they are big games, and I'm glad that the Bucs weren't. With the way the New Orleans game went, they really had no business looking past this Carolina team, because they knew that they needed to win. Because even you were telling me yesterday, like, if they lose, like, man, that is not a path you want to go down. Because if they lose and lose to the Rams and Chiefs, you're looking at 6-6, right? Then all of a sudden your 6-2 record's nothing. You're average. So they're staying on track right now. Now 2 big games coming up. So hopefully they can string them together again.
Absolutely. Big stretch of games coming up, like you had just mentioned. I wanted to get your final thoughts, if any, before we go ahead and wrap this thing up. But final thoughts from today's game, maybe your MVP, and I guess just one more thing you're looking forward to.
MVP. There's a lot of players that played really good. Probably Tom Brady, I guess. Or Ronald. To me, I just look at the hat. So Ronald Jones played really well. Okay, I am not going to discredit that. He played so well. Best game of his career, easily. But man, just Brady, to me, he seemed to have control. He seemed to have control of everything. The pocket awareness, his accuracy was a bit off on deep balls, which I tweeted. I was like, does he have like the Winston problem now, where Jameis, like, he get hit a lot of throws, but like that deep ball was the one that he was missing. I really like Tom Brady's game, and Ronald Jones, man, if I had to pick 2 MVPs, it would be him. It's basically 1A and 1B for me. It's not number 1 or 2. It's 1A, 1B. Both players were excellent, and both were huge reasons why the team won. If Tom Brady plays that way, but Ronald Jones doesn't play that way, I don't know if the Bucs win. If Ronald Jones plays that way, but Tom Brady doesn't, I don't know if the Bucs win. So it was a combined effort from the 2 of them. Really powered the offense, and was really, really happy with the production for both of them. Final thoughts is, like I said, it was a good win. It's a good response, especially with the flight being delayed and everything.
Yeah.
We weren't really sure how they were going to come out in this game.
Well, they kind of came out like a team who had gotten into their hotel at midnight.
Yeah, and probably, you get into the hotel 11:30 midnight, you don't fall asleep until, 1 maybe?
Yeah.
By the time you check in and everything, get to your room, get settled, you probably don't fall asleep 1:30. Got to wake up at like 8:30 for the game. So, they looked like a team that maybe was lacking a little bit of energy and sleep, but they picked it up pretty quick. So it's a really good bounce back. really good response from this team. Again, when you just got your butts kicked on national television in your home stadium, and then all the Saints players and stuff were celebrating and enjoy the loss of draft picks.
And
guys.
they got fined, by the way,
yeah,
which was pretty damn good. I love seeing that. That story breaking today on my Twitter feed made my heart smile.
What did you see? Our buddy Chris Fisher. Did you see what he tweeted?
No, I did not.
He said, I believe he said, can't eat a W while wearing a mask or something like that. It was a good little nugget. Let's see. Knew it was coming. Can't eat a W with a mask on. Yeah, so it was a good win. It was this is what good teams do.
Yeah.
After horrible games, good teams come and they blow the brakes off the other team. That's what they do. Now it's 2 big games coming up, and then you got the bye week. So, put all your chips into these 2 games. Really prove that you're here, you're real, you're a real contender, and then, the rest is history.
There you go. I know you felt a little bit bad about it, but don't worry. I picked him as my player of the game. Ronald Jones, 23 carries, 192 yards, and a touchdown for 98 yards, as we had discussed before. I mean, what more can you say? Someone was giving me crap on Twitter, by the way. I don't have any beef with this person. They listen to the show, and I appreciate their support. But somebody was giving me crap on Twitter for celebrating the Ronald Jones touchdown because it's like, oh, well, you hated him after the fumble. Well, I mean, crazy concept here. Follow me on this. But, maybe sometimes players can redeem themselves. And that's exactly what Ronald Jones did in the best possible way this afternoon. So he is my MVP. But, yeah, man.
Well, football is a game of ups and downs. So
yeah.
Any play can go any way. So I think it's okay it's all right to be mad at the bad ones and celebrate the good ones. That's what makes sports so good. You could be like in a basketball game. Dude hasn't made a shot all game, but he makes the one to go up with 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
Are you going to say, oh, boo? No, you're going to be cheering. You're going to, the goalie who's given up 6 goals in the game but makes the game-winning save, in the shootout. Yeah, you'll be happy. It does. That's what sports is all about, man. It doesn't matter. Ronald Jones, that was a horrible play. His fumble shouldn't have happened. Don't throw him the football. He's horrible at it. But it was also a fantastic play to break loose and get the longest run in Buccaneers history. Yeah. That's in the history books now. That's the record books right there. So kudos to him.
Yeah, really good day for Ronald Jones, and that is exactly why he is my MVP. Final thoughts. Same thing as Evan said. This is a really good win. Exactly how you wanted to bounce back, and it's how good football teams bounce back. Couple of really big games on the schedule in front of Tampa Bay right now, but I really think that after this week, they're going to be more than prepared. We just have to see how it all goes and shakes out. But ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you Thursday on our game preview show. There's going to be a new Bucs break dropping Monday night, so be ready for that. But enjoy this win. Enjoy it. Still hanging tough in the division. We just kind of have to see how these next few games go, but definitely looking forward to it. That's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening on any of our podcast outlets, or, of course, watching us with video over on YouTube. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe over there and click that bell icon so you get notified any single time we upload an episode, go live, do a hotline show, or even do some one-off content like we did with our annual King of the Wing competition. You can catch that full replay and all of its ASMR goodness on our channel as well, so make sure you scope that out. Follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show, and of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can find my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily, and then you can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL. Last but not least, you can find myself on social media, Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are Rhettakus, Rhettakus, and if you follow me, I promise I'll follow you back. I am Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host Evan. We'll talk to you guys Thursday. Go Bucs.